Hello. Welcome back to Dominate Your Day. Today I have Aleya Harris. And Aleya and I met, oh my gosh, Aleya, was this 2019 or
2020,
2020?
February 2020.
February 2020. We were in Nashville, Tennessee. We were at a conference. It was amazing. And we had no idea what was getting ready to hit us like 4 weeks
No
later.
clue.
And now,
No clue.
Aleya, at that point in time, you had been a chef, and then were in the hospitality wedding business. Now, fast forward, you're this amazing award-winning international speaker, a strategic storytelling consultant, and you're the host of your own podcast. And I think you have a book coming out soon. So welcome
I
to the
do.
show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I love having people share their transformational stories here. And you have one that's pretty transformational. I think you even became a mom during this time.
I did. I certainly did. Now that we want to talk about transformation, that's a podcast episode in and of itself.
Well, tell us, how did you go from, well, first of all, you were a chef and then you went to this hospitality wedding business and then all of a sudden speaking. How did all that happen?
So I was a chef longer ago, right? Then I rose through the ranks. I was worked as a marketer on the Google Foods program as a vendor partner, and then I became head of marketing for North America for my parent company. And that's when you met me.
Yes.
I had convinced my parent company that I was coming to StoryBrand to get the skills I needed and be certified so I could StoryBrand all of our messaging in-house. Little did I know that 2 weeks after they paid for my certification, they paid for my flight, hotel, food, all of it, then they laid me off 2 weeks after.
Oh, I did not know that. Oh my God.
And so I'm like, well, I got options, Dana, right? Like
Yes.
I could then go and get another job because this is still, February 2020 was still before the pandemic. So
Right.
I thought I had options to go and get another job, which I didn't. It turns out I would not have had that option. Or I was like, well, do I want to just try this more on my own? And it already kind of started like a baby business on the side. And I was like, okay, well, let's do this thing. So that's when I started. At the time, the business has gone through a couple of name iterations, but at the time it was called Food and Beverage Media and Marketing.
Oh.
Because I was leveraging my experience in the hospitality, food and beverage industry as a chef, and I was specifically going to target people in the wedding, catering, and events industry. And then the pandemic hit, and that was not a great idea because they couldn't operate. So if your customers don't have any money, then you don't have any money. So I changed the name to Flourish Marketing because I was by gum going to flourish. Flourishing is about, being resilient, surviving, overcoming, and having it be fabulous in the end. And then it was really, really good PR, doing a lot of speaking, a lot of networking that carried me through because I officially incorporated as the Evolution Collective Inc., DBA Flourish Marketing, and I don't use the DBA anymore, in September 2020. And once I made that decision, gave myself a clear path, I made $250,000 in 6 months using all of the elements I had put into place. And then it's been ups and downs after that. I hate it when people get on these podcasts and they said, and then I've ascended into nirvana and that's it. I am now the Buddha. It's like the story ends and I'm like, come off it. That is not what entrepreneurship is really like.
Right.
So there's been ups and downs and downs and downs and downs and downs and then little ups and big ups and downs on the
But you have,
on the journey.
But you have resilience because you came back from that 2 weeks later, layoff, then the pandemic, and then you said, okay. But what your story's starting to remind me of is that you cast yourself in this role. I mean, in the speaker's
Absolutely.
role, you had to do it. Nobody else did it for you unless somebody said, hey, Aleya, you're great. Get out there and speak. You had a vision to go do this, or how did it happen?
It was like I saw that it was working, and then I kind of just leaned into a natural gifting. I was the kid in elementary school that always got in trouble for whispering because I didn't know how it worked.
Mhm.
I was the loudest whisperer and just talking incessantly. If you sat next to me and in elementary school and are by chance listening to this podcast episode, I would like to apologize to you because I probably talked your ear off. And it's so talking and storytelling and connecting is a natural gifting of mine. So being able to get on stage and use a natural way of being to make money felt good. And I just leaned into what felt good. I had a mentor at the time that was like, speaking is probably a way to go. I had a great publicist at the time, and she got me on a lot of stages because I realized that speaking was something that an experience that was unique to that platform. Speaking is unlike any other platform because it's not, you're not reading, it's not a blog post, you're also not just like seeing something as a social media video where you feel like you're connecting, but you couldn't like reach out and touch that person or wait over by the side of the stage and like talk to them or anything like that or give them a hug. Or so I really liked the I can share with you and connect with you element of speaking.
And when we
Mhm.
talked about Clifton Strengths in the green room, or your strengths finder, and you do have communication. So people with
Yeah,
high communication get so much energy from speaking and from verbally processing. Like you said, when you were a child, those have been with you since you were a child, right? Is that whispering in the
absolutely.
and then the word and
Absolutely.
there's probably some of your family going, is she gonna keep talking? And yeah,
Yes.
and now you're getting paid for it, right?
And now I do. I get paid handsomely, like 5 figures to give a keynote.
Yeah.
So, ha ha to my elementary school teacher who told me to be quiet.
That's right. You were not meant to be quiet. You were meant to story. So you got into this speaking thing. You did a couple of free sessions, it sounded like, and then all of a sudden people started paying for you to speak. And it was during the
Mhm.
pandemic, so you were able to do a lot virtually.
Mhm.
So
People started paying me to speak, and people started paying me to do their marketing for them because they heard me speak. That's the cool thing about speaking is that you can use it as a lead magnet, and then you can also use it as the service. And even if you're being paid to do it, you can still make more money at the end of it. I just love the money flows left and right if you do it right.
so talk to us about your first time to speak and what happened, and then how did that just snowball into those other opportunities?
So, what people want to hear when they ask me this question is that I got up and I was so nervous and I didn't know if I was going to do it right, but I did it anyways and I transcended. I wish I could tell that story. I do not have stage fright. So I think this goes back to how it was as a kid. There's lots of things that I'm terrified of. So like spiders, there's that, like
Mhm.
not even can't even go there, right? Speaking on a stage is not one of them. So my first time on stage was actually an accident, or not an accident, kind of a fluke or a happy wink from the universe, we shall say, because
Mhm.
I reached out to this conference called Cater Source, which, as a little asterisk, when I was in culinary school, I was like, I put on my vision board to go to Cater Source because I think it's like a couple $1,000s a ticket, and there's no way in heck with my little broke culinary school self could I afford to go to Cater Source, and here I was applying to speak at it. And the organizer who I adore, her name is Kathleen, she responded to my email and was like, you sound great, but like the submissions are done. I'm all full up. Then a couple weeks after that, she said, actually, someone dropped out and this never happens, but would you like to come? And I will forever be grateful to Kathleen for reaching back out because I know for 1000% certainty that I was not the only speaker in the wings that she had. Like she had gone through, it was a huge conference, had gone through many, many, many applications. And so I got my little breakout session and I got on stage and I killed it. I made sure to meet a whole bunch of people. I've spoken at Cater Source / the special event 4 times now.
Mhm.
And every time that I do, I get that same giddy feeling like I wasn't even supposed to be here.
Wow.
Right. This was the dream, not only for the little adolescent, I guess, in culinary school who didn't even think she'd be able to attend. And now they're requesting me to be here and I'm one of the people on stage. So it is a full service moment when I get to speak at Cater Source. And then when I get to speak in general, I'm reminded that all I'm doing on stage is opening my mouth, letting the universe channel through me, and sharing insight that I've learned through hard-won experience and research from the stage. And people pay me to do it. And for me, it's like the most fascinating concept, because I'm like, I don't think that they should know how much fun I'm having. I don't think that they would pay me as much if they knew that this is like the most awesome thing ever.
But that's what we want. We want people like you in your strengths doing every day what you do best so that you don't even think about it. You can just get up there and flow like you're doing. So now
Yeah.
you've written a course, you've written a book, you're doing authentic storytelling. Talk to us about that and how this has morphed from speaking 2019 and
Mhm.
now here we're almost into 2025. And where your business
Yeah.
has who did you even think it would get to this point at that point when I met you back in
Mm,
Nashville? What was
No, I had no idea what was going to happen. And there's been so much. And then I had a baby in the
no
middle of
rush?
that.
Yeah.
And so there is just no way that I thought that I was going to do this, especially because I had really severe postpartum depression and anxiety after I had my baby.
Oh, wow.
And it lasted for 10, 11 months.
Mm,
So for 10, 11 months, I was not, it was a mental illness. There was a mental
mhm,
illness that's happening. And so when you experience that kind of like prolonged depth of mental illness, now you can't really see on the other side of it.
mhm.
You can't even see the other side of the day. So absolutely not did I expect to be here where I am now. And I'm very grateful and blessed that this is my life and this is my story. But the course also, the book and the course were not supposed to happen.
Oh,
I was not really excited about it, truthfully. I wanted to be super selfish. I wanted to focus on me, Aleya Harris, getting on stage, not teaching everybody else to do it. And I thought at the time, very erroneously, that I didn't have the time to teach you how to do this because I needed to spend all my time and the energy to get myself on the stage. But I would get off stages, and inevitably, I do not do this on purpose. If you've ever see me speak,
mhm.
inevitably people cry in the audience when I'm on stage because I have a very unique strength, I guess if we're going to use that word, of channeling from spirit, channeling from universe, and saying the right words to the right people at the right time. Even if the audience has like 1,000 people in it, there are people who come up to me, and I'm always available for a good hug, handshake, high five, whatever you need. And people will come up afterwards and say, "How do I do that?
Mm,
I want to be a speaker. How do I do that?" And I can tell them what I know off the cuff and just let it be. But it started to get more and more and more frequent until I put out on Instagram. I was like, okay, if I offered like a 4-week workshop, would you come to teach you how to be a speaker? And people said yes. So I
wow.
sold it, and people came,
Mm,
and they freaking loved it. And I loved it, which was the most surprising part about it,
yeah.
because I was so resistant to it, me, my selfish self.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I didn't think I would love this, because I love seeing the transformation in the audience and the eyes light up and the moments happen and the scribbling, writing, people taking notes. And then just getting that same experience and then getting to see my students on stages and seeing them book and seeing them rebook and get better and better. And those moments for me made it all worth it. And it also, in a very practical level, gave me something I own.
Mm,
Because being a speaker is very much like kind of like being like an actor,
mm,
where like you're hoping that someone hires you for a gig, but you don't actually really have any control over that. Like you could be great, but you're too short, too fat, too white, too black, too whatever, and that's the reason why you're as an actor you're not hired for the gig. And it's very similar in speaking. You could be the topic's off, they already did that last year, whatever it is, doesn't really matter sometimes how good you are as to why you're not chosen for that stage. I'm actually putting on my own event that I'm producing October 27th, called Speak She, in conjunction with Speak. And I'm sitting on the other side of the table, and I am feeling that. Like, we had amazing applicants. We only have 10 slots.
wow.
So, you know, there's going to be several dozen people that I have to turn down, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're wonderful. It's just about the mix of the people. So having a course was actually my therapist's idea. She says, well, this is something that you can own so you aren't so stressed out about being picked by somebody else to be on their stage. You own an asset that you can sell whenever you want to, and you are in control of ramping this up and when people buy. And I said, you're absolutely right. And then from there, the book came from the course.
Wow. So, what are your little tips that you give people? Are there some top tips you can share with us today that you share in your class? And then
So,
some good, I always like my people to be able to take away something from our guest that they
yeah.
as some value. So, what would you share?
There's so many tips.
Your
It's a
favorite?
6-week course. So I'm like, how do I distill this? And I'm going to give you kind of like the overall things. One, the way that I teach people to do anything is through my radically authentic framework. So you get real, you get clear, and then you get connected. Most of the time when people want to be a speaker, they like think that they just want to stand on stage and like give people information.
Mm,
And that's not what speaking is about.
mhm,
My definition of a speaker is a professional speaker is a performance artist first. And then there's more to the definition, but a performance artist first. It cannot be a blog post that you're reading from the stage. But in order to do that, then people are like, okay, great. Then I'm going to have all this energy. And then it feels like forced and kind of
mhm,
ick. You need to get real first and do a whole bunch of offstage stuff before you're even thinking about your topic, before you're thinking about your business, how you're going to make money. You need to dive deep into you to clear the path, like I've said a couple times, to channel. And it's not about being religious or a certain religion, yay or nay. It's about being open to, you could even say, to your best ideas, your biggest inspiration, whatever you want to call it, because I don't really care what your slides say or what you prepared. When you step into that room, it is your job to be of service to the people that are in front of your face.
mhm,
And they didn't, doesn't really matter what you were doing before.
mhm,
And the only way to do that is to be so in tune with your highest self. I call it your radically authentic self, that you're able to do that in the room. So a couple of tools to do that are taking control of your ego, telling your ego that your ego is not in charge,
mhm,
that you are in charge, has been doing such a great job protecting you and guiding you and making sure that everything is okay. But it doesn't like change. It doesn't like being open. It doesn't like being vulnerable. Checking your ego when you're getting real. Also, having some type of regular practice where you do some form of meditation,
mhm,
chanting, walking, drawing, writing, any type of thing where you're able to just like remove yourself from the day to day will help you develop the internal strength to be able to be ready for that on-stage moment where you need to be present and available for the people in front of your face. So that's the gist of the get real bucket. Then you get clear. I don't like over rehearsing and over preparing, but I like using frameworks.
mhm.
So I have a crisis story framework that I use. I have my Radical Spark signature talk framework that I use. All of these are in my book, which is available for sale on September 19th.
Good.
But what I encourage you to do is actually to add in a step before you would normally. So most people have a general idea of what they want to talk about. Then they go and they write their outline. I want you to have a general idea of what you want to talk about and then use a storytelling framework to pull out the story elements that you want to make sure that you cover in your speech, and then translate those elements into your outline so that you're resonating with people in their head, their heart, and their gut.
Mhm,
They can understand what you're saying, they feel it, and then they have a sense of, oh, that's why I need to be a part of this. They're galvanized to action. It hits them in a deeper place. When you're able to use that, there's the hero's journey framework, there's the story brand framework, there's even just simple, like, does it have a beginning, middle, and an end?
mhm,
You could be, what exactly are you trying to say? It's not just a bunch of regurgitation of data.
mhm,
And the getting connected piece goes back to what I was saying about being a performance artist. I want you to think about the stage in 3D,
mm,
or I guess, yeah, 3D. There's a back and forth and a side to side and an up and down. All of that is available to you when you're on stage. Your entire body is also available to you when you're on stage. So when you're articulating a point, let's say you say something along the lines of, the more that I responded to emails in that way, the more I move further and further away from my goals. Well, as you said that, if you then walk slowly back on the stage while staying within your light, that helps to articulate a point and create an experience for your audience that just standing there at a podium does not
Mm.
provide, right? And getting into the nuances of your craft like that is the difference between someone who always has to speak for free and someone who gets paid 5 figures or more to speak, right?
I think that is pretty powerful because so many, I've had quite a few people on the podcast talk about their speaking frameworks. I think you're the first person that's really gone into the 3D piece of it. You hear a little bit of the mindset, a little bit of the pray or, have some time,
Mm.
quiet time, spiritual time, meditation. But I love how you're bringing all that together in a framework for people to follow, and especially leaving the ego at the door. Right.
Yes.
I mean,
People get confused. That's easy to get confused because you're the one in the spotlight and you have on the fancy clothes. And so you think that the experience is about you.
mhm.
And on first blush, it looks like it is, but it has nothing to do with you. You're facilitating a group experience. I think of when I'm on stage like it's one big group project
Yeah.
with me and everybody else in the room. I just so happen to be sitting at the front of the room, but that doesn't mean that I'm the most important person in the group project.
I think that's so important, and that goes back to the hero and the guide, and that you're not the hero.
Mhm. I
They
am
are.
not the
Audience
hero.
is the
Not the
hero,
hero.
right?
Mhm.
So tell us, you left me in the story, and I want to go back and before we finish about how you had the baby, you had postpartum, and then you went back to work. So how did you get yourself through that time to get yourself?
Ah,
Because there's a lot of women out there right
so
now.
many ways.
They might be
Mhm.
going through that, or they might be going through the opposite, with the, as they've aged and they in the hormone.
Mm.
Um, and they all think it's something wrong with them. And it's like you said, it's a time to take a break and kind of
Mhm.
and it sounds like you did. It sounds like you took a break.
I did not take a break.
You didn't.
I would
Yeah,
have
we're still in
loved
the
to take
gap.
a break.
So you're gonna have to tell us
Yeah.
what you did.
So I would have loved to have taken a break, but I couldn't. Okay, so you remember how I told you that I made $250,000 in 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I promptly then lost it all.
Mm.
And I don't have a gambling problem or anything, I promise. What happened was at the time I had 20 people that worked for me. And we were going with gangbusters and we were creating stuff. And then in my mind, I was creating a membership program that was going to be my maternity plan because I didn't have a company that was going to give me maternity leave. So I was going to have this recurring revenue to be my maternity plan. And then the people in my business were just going to run the rest of it. I invested $30,000 into creating and launching this membership. And the entire time I was building it, it didn't feel right. I
Mm.
knew it. I was like, oh, this is not right. This is not right. But I was moving forward because I didn't have another option and I was just pushing forward. It sold $0.
Mm.
$0. Not like a couple thousand, but $0. Then I'm in a hole for that 30. And then business started going down because I think that the pandemic almost hit me like a little later.
Mm-hmm. Sounds
I
like it.
don't like the effects of it hit me later. So then that's going down, and then I started like playing that ego game of, oh, I'm sure it's fine. We're not going to really change anything. Just a temporary slump. I'm going to go and do a super smart thing, which is get a merchant cash advance loan. If you are listening to me and you are thinking about getting a merchant cash advance loan, do not do it. Do not.
Mm.
But I didn't know. I didn't know that they go by other names like predatory loans. Had no idea. They seem so cool.
Oh.
I got one and then I got another and then $180,000 in debt later. And I think I was like 1 month away from giving birth with no maternity leave, no business, have just fired my whole team at $180,000 in debt. I couldn't afford to take a break. I have yet to have a maternity leave. My daughter's almost 2.
Oh.
So I would have loved to take a break, and that's what I needed. But I had to kind of keep moving forward, keep plugging on, keep figuring it out. And it speaks to the resiliency, but it also speaks to several issues. The care gap in the United States, the issue with like no postpartum support within the United States really at all. Um, there's so many things that I wish that I could have had, but at the same time, I did have a lot that kept me going. I had an amazing husband. We had a doula that stayed, and then now we're blessed where we have a full-time nanny. Like, so I eventually got the support that I needed. But when she was 3 months old, I was on a plane delivering a workshop in Phoenix. Yeah.
Wow.
So I am looking forward to the time, which hopefully is rather soon, where I
Take a break.
can get that break.
Well, and I think as female entrepreneurs, founders, we think we can't take a break. And you had a lot you were going through, but you've got yourself out of it, it sounds like. And,
Sure did.
and
Sure did. And so if you don't do merchant cash advances, but do look up community development financial institutions, CDFIs, because a CDFI, Alt Cap California, saved my little Watusi. And I will forever be grateful for them for helping me because the merchant cash advances, I couldn't get ahead because I owed $8,000 a month in loan payments. And I was like, well, how am I going to, everything I was making was just going right back out again. So just another PSA. I felt like, I was like, if I tell you what not to do, let me tell you what
but
to do.
what I think is interesting about your story is you got through that really dark time, but you got yourself out of it. And you got the resources, and now and your course is pretty successful, your speaking is
Yeah.
successful, you've got a book
Yes.
launch. And I think like you said in the very beginning, entrepreneurship is not, it's not a single sport, it's a team sport, and it's not done alone. And I think and there are ups and downs. There's great ups and there are some downs, but being able to be, sometimes when we're closest to just saying I can't get this done is right when we're getting ready to make the breakthrough. Did you feel
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. I felt that with my book because there's an interesting thing. I've been having lots of conversations with and about my own ego. So yeah, I'm not pointing fingers if you're talking about, oh, remove your ego as a speaker. It's a constant, and actually that's a misspeak. Removing your ego is not the goal. Taking control of it is, because you still need your ego, right?
Yeah.
But I'm just as guilty as everybody else. I'm not sitting up here on my high horse. But when you've gone through something that someone pointed out to me was trauma, financial trauma, then I don't know what PR agent motherhood has, but it's the best PR agent in the planet to get us to keep doing this, because having a baby and going through being a mom is traumatic. It's wonderful. My daughter is super cute and hilarious, but it's still traumatic. So I'm going through financial trauma. I'm going through physical, emotional, mental trauma, and still trying to do all of the things out of survival. And that is not a fun situation to be in. And then your ego kicks in to protect you. Like, well, we're going to try to protect all of the pieces of you that we can. And then it's like, well, we tried this and this failed. And then we tried this and this failed. And we tried this and this failed. So when my book is coming out, my ego is saying things like, I mean, don't get your hopes up. It's probably going to fail.
Oh.
Well, I mean, you're going to do this, and well, I'm trying to protect you, Aleya. I love you so much, but don't get too excited, because no one's probably going to read it. It's not really going to change anything. The world's not going to get any better for you, because hope, when you hope so much, it's like in the Bible, it says hope deferred makes the heart sick. At least I think that's the Bible. It could also be Teddy Roosevelt, so don't quote me on who exactly that is. That's the kind of thing that I'm going through. So it is a constant discussion with myself and my ego, like, no, I'm choosing hope. I'm choosing hope again. I'm re-choosing hope again. And if it fails, it fails. But through every failure that I've gone through, there's been something else wonderful that has come through it. And it's more of a course correction than just taking me out of the race, because I'm continuing to be in the running in this entrepreneurship race that's a marathon, not a sprint. But there is a lot of hoping against hope involved in my life experience right now. And I'm hoping that I will just be able to get that pure hope going soon as things begin to settle in my nervous system. But there is still a lot of that anxiety around the good and the bad.
So this book is coming out next week, right? Is it next week?
It is
No,
coming
okay.
out. It is coming on my birthday, September 19th. It's coming
Okay.
out.
And I think this will probably be airing sometime in October, but
Mm-hmm.
September. So tell
Oh,
us.
good. So if you're listening now, just pause, buy the book, come back. It'll be great.
There we go. And who is the book for? What do you hope that people get out of the book? Why did you write the book?
The book is for anybody who's looking to be a radically authentic professional speaker who can captivate an audience by telling a compelling story from the stage. If you have stage fright, if you are not sure if your story deserves to be heard, if you're looking to add another revenue stream or to promote the business that you already have from the stage, then this book is for you. It takes people from soup to nuts, all the way from I have no idea what I'm talking about, or if I should even be talking, through to I can confidently say what my topic is. I can confidently deliver it. I know exactly how to get gigs, and I know exactly how to present myself as a professional I want to be.
Wow.
And I know that it works because it's very similar to my course. So my course really, really works. You can go to layaharris.com/spark and check out the testimonials there. So I think that you should buy it. Check it out.
That sounds great. So, Aleya, as we get ready to close out, is there anything coming up for you right now that you didn't get to share with this audience? You want to make sure that they hear from you.
If you cannot show up, it's okay.
Hmm.
And I'm a type A pluser.
Really?
So, yeah, I know. Did you gather that?
I see you're a achiever. I
Enneagram
see you're a
3,
achiever.
wing 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't show up, it's okay.
Yeah.
I thought that if I couldn't show up for my business, for myself, that it was that one day that was going to make everything fail. That one moment, that 1 hour, that lack of the email. I was supposed to be sending weekly emails. I didn't send that weekly email. The week that I missed on publishing my podcast. And that was going to be it because I couldn't show up that day. It's okay.
Hmm.
I have learned that the times that I haven't been able to show up and I've been doing something else, needed to be just by myself, needed to just sit down somewhere, which is in general my state, probably needing to go sit down somewhere. It was more of an incubation period because whatever I was going to do or I thought my wise plan had for me to do in that day, in that moment, it wasn't ready yet.
Mm.
So I want you, if you're giving yourself the pressure like I have done and continue to do, to show up always and to show up always impeccably. And when you can't, realize that you truly are not always in control, and what a blessing that is. Because there's someone out there that knows a little bit better than you do and that's telling you to sit down.
Mm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that because if you talk about radical authenticity, and that's what that is. Like today is not the day. I need to take a break and give
Mm-hmm.
yourself a
I need
break.
to
It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
Great words. Thank you so much, Aleya. Now, what is the best place that our listeners can find you if they want to find out about your course or your book or anything else about your speaking? Where can they find you?
Yes. You can go to aleyaharris.com, ALEYAHARRIS.com. They're my course, my book, my speaking, and also linked to my strategic storytelling consulting. The Evolution Collective is also there. You can follow me on Instagram at Aleya Harris and also on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is actually where I hang out most of the time. Surprisingly, I wouldn't have touched it with a 10-foot pole a couple years ago, but I'm finding I'm having a good time there.
It's a
So feel
great
free to
place.
connect with me.
Yeah.
It is.
Thank you so much. We are excited for you. Can't wait to see and hear a year from now how everything's going. You'll have a 3-year-old at the time, probably,
I know,
and
that's so
your book will
ridiculous.
be a year out, and who knows what, whose lives you've been able to change since then. So, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Aleya. We appreciate you being here today.
Thank you.
Mhm.